The opening address will be delivered by His Excellency Zbigniew Rau, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland.
Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, 18 months have passed since the previous edition of the Polish-British Belvedere Forum took place in London. I attended it as the chairman of Polish Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee. Today, I have a great pleasure to welcome the members of the Forum and its 5th edition participants, both those present in this room, as well as everyone following its proceedings on Polish public television and throughout social media as Poland's foreign minister. So, mind your neighbors, say hello to those sitting nearby. Who knows whom they may become by the next edition of the Forum. The previous Forum took place in the very first days after the United Kingdom left the European Union, together with its common market and legal framework, including the 4 freedoms that form a basis for ever closer bilateral collaboration between our countries since Poland's accession to the EU in 2004. During this tense EU-UK negotiations on Brexit, Poland supported a pragmatic approach in the EU, oriented at a long-term beneficial relationship between the two sides, who are and will remain close allies, crucial economic partners, and friends bound by common democratic heritage, its past and the future. Fortunately, in December 2020, we witnessed the finalization of a trade and cooperation agreement between EU and Britain. I still believe it will prove to be a good platform to build upon in the future. Unfortunately, in 2021, we have also witnessed the first challenges connected to implementing the new post-Brexit arrangements and the new British global strategy that emphasizes UK engagement in the Indo-Pacific, as if this engagement from Europe was to be counterbalanced with a more robust British presence in other corners of the world. To me, if the UK wants to go global, it should start its efforts here, in Europe. Not only are you very welcome here, but you are indispensable for your freedom and ours, for your and our prosperity and peace. Ladies and gentlemen, only a few days after the last Forum, we also observed the first COVID-19 restrictions coming into force in both our countries and across Europe. Paradoxically, in the short term, they had an even bigger impact on interpersonal, social, scientific, and economic exchanges between Poland and UK than Brexit itself. Sadly, such a price had to be paid on top of many other great losses due to the virus in both our countries, including human lives. The present year brought new hope together with the vaccination programs. In Poland, we appreciate the positive contribution of the British-made AstraZeneca vaccine, which was included in these life-saving efforts since the very beginning. What has substantially changed is also the international context of the Polish-British partnership. The pandemic has tasted both Western unity and its leadership within the global system, encouraging China and Russia to more assertive or even aggressive stances in many different regions, from Middle East to NATO's eastern flank, and policy fields from human rights to technology. In Poland's and NATO's immediate neighborhood, we observed in just the last 18 months not only democratic protests in Belarus stopped by Lukashenko's regime, but also the hijacking of a civilian airliner in order to arrest Belarusian dissidents, and the build-up of an irregular migration crisis on the borders of Poland and the Baltics. All these events were executed by the Belarusian regime with Russian approval and support. These movements are testing NATO's unity and the capability of its allies to resist hybrid warfare. Meanwhile, the allies' ability to defend against conventional threats has been recently tested by the Russian-Belarusian Zapad 21 military exercise. Over the last few weeks, we also observed a dramatic turn of events in Afghanistan after the revision of US policy towards that country. Thankfully, Poland successfully evacuated its own citizens, Afghan partners, and nationals of allied nations. In these difficult circumstances, we had good first-hand experience of what can be achieved when Polish and British services cooperate. And, as a result, a number of human lives were saved. As the serving Minister of Foreign Affairs, but also as a member of a Polish-British parliamentary group and long-standing supporter of close Polish-British relations, I wish to share with you my satisfaction that despite Brexit, defense and security collaboration between our countries continues to develop well, exemplified by the presence of British soldiers in Poland, as well as through cooperation between our armed forces in the Baltics. And yet, there are some important questions that haven't been answered yet. For instance, how is the UK going to maintain its military presence in our region and, at the same time, expand its presence in the Indo-Pacific while cutting down on its armed forces? Or how will EU-UK cooperation in Northern Ireland be maintained while protecting the single market in the face of ever-changing internal dynamics in British politics in this regard? The integrated review rightly characterized Poland as an important security partner in Europe. Yet, Many in our countries do not fully realize the intensity of the economic links between us. Britain's volume of imports from Poland is comparable with those from Ireland, its closest neighbor. Most importantly, 1 million Polish citizens in the UK who decided to stay there after Brexit, and a smaller but vibrant British community in Poland will remain a living bridge that will be our greatest common capital. We're better to understand the benefits of this kind of close collaboration than in this venue, the Warszawa Hotel, or, as it used to be known, the Prudential House. This skyscraper of pre-war Poland represented the flagship British investment in this part of Europe in the 1930s. It also represented the most advanced construction technology of the time developed by Professor Stefan Bryła at the Prudential Company's Commission. However, the building and its architect's fate during the Second World War illustrate what happens when aggressive, non-democratic regimes are allowed to wage war in Europe, which ultimately endangers the whole continent. During the Munich crisis, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain objected to Britain's involvement in a quarrel in a faraway land between people of which we know nothing. This history lesson is clear. Knowing more about each other makes Europe safer. Ladies and gentlemen, both Poland and Britain are modern democratic countries with active civil societies. That means that there are common values to defend and to build on. But this also means that governments cannot create a good and lasting relationship between our countries just by themselves. This is why today's event is so important, as it focuses activities of non-governmental, business, academic, and expert organizations from Poland and Britain, supports their dialogue and exchange of ideas. This is also why 2 years ago, both governments decided to pass the baton of organizing the forum to our leading non-partisan expert institutions in our countries, the Polish Institute of Foreign Affairs and the Royal Institute of Foreign Affairs. We see the Belvedere Forum as a new marketplace of ideas and best practices that fosters ongoing collaboration between different sections of our societies. In these challenging times, such a format is ever more important for an honest dialogue between our countries. Over the next 2 days, the delegates gathered here in this room and virtually all over Poland, Britain, and literally throughout the world will discuss problems in all the key fields constituting the 3 strands of the forum: intersocial relations, business and international relations, such as the Polish-British post-Brexit and post-COVID relationship, challenges for the next generation, green transformation, or the shared cultural heritage of our common compatriot, Joseph Conrad. The Belvedere Forum is a meeting of long-standing friendship built and consolidated over the last few years, focusing on the relations between the United Kingdom, Poland, and Central Europe. To this purpose, I wish you, ladies and gentlemen, very vigorous, very fruitful discussions.